Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 273rd ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron, alongside my good friend, fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. More importantly, though, producer Cameron, how are you?
Doing great.
Hey, welcome in.
Hey, welcome.
Oh,
what's up,
producer
guys?
Cam.
It's about time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been too long. It's been a long time coming, and we finally figured out how to get two cameras going where he can switch them back and forth.
He's back there.
And we hear him, we see him, we love him. Thanks for coming on the show with us today.
All right, have a good show, guys.
Thanks. We'll see you later. Don't you worry. What have you been up to?
I was afraid you're going to ask me that.
You been watching any Christmas movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. The other night, I was like, I haven't seen some of those old Christmas movies in a while, like the OG Grinch.
Okay.
And it was like 20 minutes long.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's that short. So I just found it on YouTube. And it was broken up into like 3-minute videos.
I would have never guessed it's that short.
Yeah, great. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched then. I was like, okay, that was entertaining. What else is out there? I watched the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie.
How long is that?
That was more like 45 minutes.
Oof.
And starts off like good and then just goes on a really weird tangent that I completely forgot existed.
Yeah.
Like they're meeting this other like kind of boisterous mountaineer man.
Oh, he's the best part.
And they go to the Isle of Misfit Toys. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, man, I forgot all this existed.
Yeah.
And so it didn't quite hit as hard as The Grinch,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still kind of fun to watch some of that.
We've watched Home Alone several times because that's Olivia's favorite movie right now.
It's a great movie.
She calls it Christmas Kid. So she said, I need to watch Christmas Kid. And she loves it when Kevin jumps on the bed
Sure.
and screams.
Every kid's dream.
So she'll just run around screaming, and then she'll go, I'm like Kevin. So it's cute for a while. What all do we have to talk about this week besides Christmas movies? We're going to talk about the basketball team going 3-0 this week. Maybe they've turned things around after that awful loss to Jackson State. Missouri football team finished their regular season off well, beating Arkansas. And we're going to look ahead at bowl games and stuff like that. We have a mailbag question, our first one of those ever. So stay tuned for that. And before we get into all that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a review wherever you listen to us. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Shout out to Josh. He's been a supporter. He said, if Missouri beats Arkansas, I'm going to bump up my tier to $10. And he came through. Missouri Tigers came through. Josh came through. Love you, Josh.
I also want to add Josh. This is the second time he's come through on a promise where maybe a year ago or something, he DM'd our Twitter account and said, if you guys do some kind of hot wings challenge, I will become a Patreon subscriber.
Yeah.
And so then we delivered on a promise and said, okay, we'll do it. We did it. We filmed it. It's on Patreon that you can watch it if you become a supporter.
Yeah.
And then Josh subscribed. So just promises kept all around.
Man of his word. We salute him for that. First things first here, basketball. 3-0 this week. They did it in an interesting way. They obviously had lost that game to Jackson State, and then it was like, okay, season's in the toilet, but maybe not so fast. Because, immediately they start out playing 338th ranked South Carolina State and go down 29-13 in that game.
Yeah, it was looking bad.
So bad. I was full on panicking at that point. What is going on? But then Missouri went on a 48-10 run over the course of 20 minutes of game action and ended up winning the game 82-59. So they figured out, hey,
I wish they would have done that in the Jackson State game.
Seriously. In this one, they figured out, actually, we're all better than all of the players on the other team, so we'll just act like it. And they ran away with it. But that was scary for a minute. And then they luckily finally started fast against Loyola, Maryland. Started that game 31-9, but then gave up a 20-2 run. And then it was just kind of 8-10, 6-point lead the rest of the game. They ended up winning by 8, 78-70. And then we get a big win on the road against a top 50 team at Pittsburgh, 71-64, most recently. And in that game, Missouri just looked like the better team basically the entire time.
Yeah, basically nothing this team has done all year makes any sense at all. No. The win on the road at Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota is a sub 100 Kim Pom team. They're not a very good Power 5 team, but that's still winning on the road at a Big Ten school.
Yeah.
That's still and the way they won, they came back from like 20 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So basically all we know about this team so far is that they're going to be very streaky and they're going to do things that make no sense in a good and bad way all season long, probably.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen some streaky Missouri Tiger basketball teams over the years, but this one is just on a different level.
Yeah.
Even going back to the Memphis game, it was like the first half, hey, this is a good basketball team. We're beating Memphis. Mm-hmm. And then the second half just fall apart.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talked about a couple of those other games, but even like in a couple of these wins, it's like, I don't know. It was still giving up a 12-1 run to Loyola, Maryland in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh made it interesting last night, too.
Yeah,
at
well,
the very end.
Yeah. Basically, the only way Pittsburgh made it interesting was they shot 31 free throws to Missouri's 14.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
That was
That's frustrating.
A little bit of a trend in both of those road games out of conference. It was like, it was kind of crazy watching both of those games. There's like Missouri not getting calls. Seems a little lopsided. The other team's in the bonus. And then like late in the game, there's a foul called on the home team and the fans just lose their minds. Like, come on.
Prisoner of the moment.
Yeah. You've had the advantage this entire time with the whistles. But besides that, Sean East against Pittsburgh, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 turnovers, though. That's one thing that this team has struggled with a little bit, is turning the ball over too much. And I think I could maybe chalk a little bit of that up to the sort of sporadic rotations and inconsistency with who's on the floor together.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think there's too many like role players and it's like, okay, well, maybe if I put so-and-so in, like they'll spark something. We basically have like 12 of those guys where it's like, they might be good for a little bit if I throw them in.
Yeah.
And we have like no stars and 12 capable players, and it's probably really difficult to know who to throw in there and when.
Well, and one thing that's strange is Sean East, far and away the best offensive player for this team so far, shooting 59% from 3 and 60% from 2, but is, I mean, taking fewer shots than Noah Carter, Caleb Grill, Nick Honor. I mean, I don't understand that. Hyper efficient, but low usage.
He kind of had the mid-range game going, though. Is that a sustainable style, though, to be that efficient?
I mean, I say maybe not, but keep shooting the ball until those percentages drop down to something that looks a little bit more average, a little bit more pedestrian.
Keep shooting until you show up on the scouting report and then start giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
how do you scout this team, actually?
Somebody needs to do exactly that, though. Somebody needs to be like, okay, I will be the offensive engine of this team.
Yeah.
I mean, Noah Carter looks like he wants to do that sometimes, but
Caleb Grill looks like he wants to do that.
That's true. Both of those guys, though, struggle to create their own shot.
Yeah.
That's where I think Sean East separates himself from them, is he can create his own shot. But and he's good off the catch, too. Getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. He's basically the only player that's doing that consistently. And then, but another guy that I wanted to talk about is Tamar Bates, because he's shooting 50% from 3, 52% from 2, 92% from the free throw line. He's only playing 41% of available minutes. He's got the best offensive rating on the team early on so far.
He looks like far and away the most like prototypically skilled and athletic guard that we have too.
Yeah.
Like at a Power 5 level. Like Sean East, good player. To Tamar Bates, though, like he's like 6'6",
Yeah.
like long and can shoot it. And
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, I definitely would like to see more Bates.
I'd say like the biggest positive surprise so far has been Anthony Robinson, aka Ant, aka Ankle Bully. He's
A-Rob.
out there. A-Rob. I think the coaching staff likes Ant.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
He's been really impressing as a freshman, and a guy that by all like recruiting stats and stuff, he was supposed to be the slowest to acclimate to the college game. And I think really we're only scratching the surface on what he'll be able to do long term.
And based on the depth chart, that's what we thought too.
Right.
Like preseason was like, yeah, he might get in there in certain situations, but I don't expect to see much of him this year. That was wrong.
Yeah. And he's like just below Bates in minutes played so far. But yeah, there's just like, I'm looking at KenPom right now, and there's like literally 9 guys sitting here that have played a decent amount of minutes, and when they're in there, they get looks. And I don't know, it's just a very strange. They have not figured out who they like in the top 8 guys yet.
And some guys have a shorter leash than others, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some mysteries there with like Tanjay, not like he didn't play at all last game.
Was he injured?
Good question.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything. Obviously, he was dealing with something preseason.
I saw a report from like a national writer before the game, but I can't remember what it said. I can't remember if it was like an injury or if they just said he was like unavailable. I think it was maybe.
I'll see if I can find something, but
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, because Tanjay is the exact type of player that it feels like offensively Missouri is missing. Somebody who can stretch the floor, get to the rim, get to the free throw line, create for himself to some extent, but he just hasn't really been there. And Vanover, obviously he was suspended early, but now he's kind of figuring out his role a little bit, but he's maybe one of the most inconsistent players on the team. It's like he'll have a stretch where he blocks a shot and then finishes a lob at the other end, and then he'll have a stretch where he can't come down with a rebound to save his life. So I don't know. It just like the inconsistency is just wild.
Yeah.
And the streakiness. And I feel like Caleb Grill, he's been playing okay. He's only shooting 27% from 3. Eventually that's got to sort itself out.
It's got to be better.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I still am maybe feeling a little bit pessimistic
Yeah.
generally, but it's like
Man.
we've got some pieces here that should be able to do something.
Yeah, I mean, at Pittsburgh, not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but man, that's a really good win.
That is super solid. Yeah.
I forgot that Jeff Capel was the coach
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I just like saw him whenever I turned on the game. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Blake Henson.
He's
man,
good.
He is good. What a crazy like roller coaster of a college basketball career he's had.
Yeah.
In an alternate universe, he's a Missouri Tiger. I feel like he's kind of poised for a Kobe Brown-esque year this year.
Yeah, he really like worked on his body, and it's just he's very athletic, and I don't know, he's a good player.
He by himself was 5 of 8 from 3. The rest of the team 2 of 13. He was trying to will them back into the game, but couldn't quite get it done by himself.
Now we hope they go win the ACC.
Exactly. Yeah. So Missouri's now 6-2, 79th in KenPom.
Did they win the SEC ACC challenge?
Did the SEC win that?
I think I saw that they had won at least 4 or 5 of those games. Kentucky destroyed Miami.
Mm-hmm. I don't actually know.
I think there's more games tonight. Today's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more games tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, so Missouri, 79th on KenPom. That's improved over, I think they were like 90th after after one of these games. Like 91st going into the Pittsburgh game.
Yikes.
Yeah. One weird thing about this team is they are 300th in tempo. They were like 100th last year. They're 300th, and what's really bringing them down is they are 329th in defensive possession length. So Missouri's defensive possessions are very long. That could be good or bad. If you're making other teams use the shot clock and be in late clock situations often, that's good.
Yeah, except it does feel like at the end of that, it's when teams finally find the weak spot in the zone, or they get Missouri out of their rotation and for a wide open three.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of messing around with looking at the different leaderboards on KenPom, and the teams with the shortest defensive possessions are the worst defensive teams in the country. Teams are just scoring at will. The first look is good every time. So you don't want to be there.
That's true.
But it does feel like exactly what you're saying. Teams are just kind of working the ball around,
just find it
however they want to do it.
Keep passing it around the perimeter, and you'll get the rotation you want eventually.
Yeah. So I think that needs to improve. Missouri's offense slightly better than the defense in the early going here. Next game is against Wichita State. We're at home for that one. Wichita State has a new head coach, Paul Mills, who was previously at Oral Roberts. So a reunion with him and Connor Vanover. They're 105 in KenPom, 171 on offense, 68 on defense. Might be a little bit of I don't know. Probably a little bit of a low scoring game. Might be kind of ugly. Mm-hmm. I think I've been calling for it the last 3 weeks, but I think Sean East just needs to shoot the ball more.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking was with their low possessions, but sometimes I feel like they just kind of screw around, somebody shoot. They pass up looks, and then you have Nick Honor who just throws up at least 5 transition threes a game. So
he's shooting well though.
Balances out.
Yeah. Nick Honor, the most threes attempted so far, but he is shooting 47%. So
that'll play.
Yeah. Wichita State, not a good 3-point shooting team, so that's in Missouri's favor there. And another interesting stat for Missouri is they're second in the country in blocked shot percentage. Aiden Shaw blocking a ton of shots. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that, as I watch him play, still just a sophomore, you can kind of see there's a trajectory for him with his athleticism. If he can round out his game sort of he's on pace for potentially, he could be dominant as a senior, I think.
Defensively or both?
Well, when he finished that reverse lob last night, it's
that was nice.
This is the kind of thing that I think he'll be able to figure out how to manufacture more of those looks at the rim.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to see him develop a little bit more of a slashing finisher offensive game. And then we'll talk again before this, but after Wichita State, Missouri travels to Lawrence, Kansas. So got that to look forward to. Still early though, still a lot to figure out with this team, and the way they're doing the rotations, it feels like it's going to be right up until or into SEC play before we really nail it down. Any other thoughts on this basketball team?
Ronnie DeGray plays for Wichita State?
Yeah, I think so.
But also hasn't been playing?
Yeah, let me
I
look
thought
him
I saw
up.
something about eligibility, some kind of eligibility concern. Has he played at all for them?
It appears not.
Oh,
yeah.
Guess we won't see him. At least
No
on TV.
reunion there.
No reunion.
Ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
So before we do the Arkansas football game, let's try this mailbag question. Do you have that handy?
I can look it up.
Okay. I don't know if the exact
We don't even
wording
have
matters.
we don't even have a mailbag segment, but
We do now.
someone submitted a question, so now we do. And if you have a question, just DM us or whatever.
Yeah,
MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
that's true.
Okay.
I already know this question, and it is,
This is from,
unfairly tough.
This is from Brayshawn, my little John,
Okay.
on Twitter. And they said, out of Coach Drink, Coach Gates, and DRF,
Yeah.
Desiree Reed, Francois, you can only keep 2, and the other takes a job elsewhere. Who are you keeping? So pick 2 out of the 3.
Sheesh.
That's tough. That's a good
That
question.
is an insanely tough question. I feel like a week ago, like coming off the Jackson State loss, I could have just been like, you know what?
You were doubting our Lord and Savior?
No, I don't doubt any of the three is the thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So
They
it's
all-
almost like who's the most replaceable?
They all feel like we're in such a special little time, this ideal mix where, I mean, I'm not in the athletic department. I don't know what, specific changes have been made internally.
Yeah.
But clearly something has changed and for the better.
Yeah.
And man, DRF has done such a great job listening to the fans and like responding to feedback, being available. Like you see her at games, you see her like all the time, like even on TV or whatever, like with the team and stuff. Like she just seems very accessible. And
She's had the fan experience in mind.
yes, and like they've been very progressive with the NIL stuff, and so she's just been incredible.
Fundraising is up, all of that.
Yeah.
Is there one of the three of them that you would definitely not get rid of?
I think it's got to be her. That may be just my opinion. I think you have to keep her.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Because
Wow.
I have faith in her to whichever one of these two we get rid of, I have faith in her to replace them.
That they have like the platform to continue the success.
Yeah.
You would take DRF over Dennis Gates? Let's just kind of follow that up. Well, is
only-
she like your number one priority? That's not the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
But is that the number one priority for you?
I think so.
Wow. That's not what I was going to say, but I respect it.
She hired Dennis Gates. She could do something similar again.
Yeah.
Oof.
Man.
I don't want to have to lose one of them though.
I think
in
I'd
real life.
I think I'd have to pick losing DRF as my
Really?
Yes, just
Interesting.
I mean, I don't like. I just said all the great things she's done.
Yeah.
Just hope that the two coaches could just stay forever, right?
Yeah,
out
I
into the
mean,
sunset.
I guess that's kind of a intangible of this is that like either the coaches could leave and
No. We keep them.
if they're just here forever. Like I'm pretty happy with both Coach Drinkwitz and Coach Gates just being here, and I don't think I can lose either one of them at this point.
I mean, I couldn't either, honestly.
Maybe there's some kind of internal hire that's like we've been watching DRF. I'm like, okay, that's how to lead a department.
Maybe.
Maybe she's replaceable. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I feel like, well, I said I think she's least replaceable. So if I had to lose one of those coaches, man, that is tough.
Nothing against Coach Drink. I don't know that I would be shocked at myself saying this like a year ago, probably, but like
Yeah.
I think he's got to be priority number one
You think?
because he's doing something that very, very few people are capable of doing with Missouri's football team, and that's the number one priority of the athletic department.
Yeah.
Missouri's 10-2, about to play in a huge bowl game, and like
Some of the best recruiting classes
some of
ever.
the best recruiting classes we've seen. I mean, it seems like the sky,
We're picking, not recruiting.
the ceiling. Yeah, we're picking now. The ceiling seems extremely high. with
Ceiling is
Coach
the roof.
Drinkwitz in the most important sport, revenue wise at least.
Do you think your answer would have been different in June?
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm result oriented. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like I am too because,
You have to be a little bit.
yeah.
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't want to lose any of them. I want to just stay exactly how we are right now.
Your DRF she's taking the job at like USC or something.
Yeah. I think I just got to go drink Gates DRF. Wow. But I understand your answer though. I get it.
I'm going to keep DRF around.
Who are you getting rid of?
That's impossible. I feel like well, I don't want to insult your answer.
You can't insult me.
I feel like losing her is maybe like the easier answer because it's like
Which is why I'm glad that you said what you did.
you can almost imagine somebody else behind the scenes replacing
Exactly.
her. Yeah.
Yes, it's way easier to replace somebody that you're not seeing as much.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'll be the bad guy though, and I will say that there's no good answer here. If I really, my actual opinion, not sugarcoating it, I would replace Drink. But I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine.
Either one of
I'm
the
not mad.
coaches, either one of the coaches, I feel like there's potential to make the right hire with the resources. But I think there's an argument that the basketball coach is the easier position to come in and be successful right away.
Sure.
I think there's an argument there.
Oh, 100%.
So,
Without belittling what Coach Gates has done, I
Yeah.
100% agree.
man, that is just
We
a
just
tough
gotta
question.
soak it up, man. Like,
Yeah.
enjoy these times.
If anything, that's what this question points to, is the fact that it's rolling to some extent right now. And
we're all just hoping that all three of these entities are thinking like, well, I am on top of the world right now.
exactly.
And I can do what I'm doing at Missouri, like anything I want to do.
Yeah.
I can do it here. I don't need to go anywhere else.
You just imagine the three of them sitting down and just saying, look at us. Yeah.
exactly.
And they don't want anything else.
Look at us. We're rich and successful. Look at us.
Yeah. Well, I hope we gave a direct enough answer there, but that's a tough one. And let us know in the comments what you think and if we missed any arguments for any which way. Very good question. Now we can move on to that Arkansas game. Missouri football beats Arkansas in Fayetteville 48-14 to cap off a 10-2 regular season.
Piggy, come on, Piggy.
The Piggies showed up for about
They were there.
2 minutes.
We saw them, but
Does
Man.
this game change a lot? Do you think if KJ Jefferson doesn't get injured?
it is probably more competitive, yes. But
If he didn't get injured on that play, he might have, a couple plays later, because Missouri's defensive line was in
Yeah.
Arkansas's backfield all game.
yeah, they were ready to go. That was the second drive of Arkansas, second Arkansas drive that KJ Jefferson got hurt. So the first drive, I mean, they went 3 and out in about 25 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that Arkansas was threatening to win this game by any stretch of the imagination, even with KJ. But it probably would have been a little bit more competitive. And I mean, he fumbled when he got hurt, and we scored immediately and all that stuff. So it was pretty much not close from the start.
I feel so silly thinking about how nervous I was about this game. And I think it was just like the pressure of finishing off a 10-win season.
I think that's all it was. It would have been against no matter who we were playing, really.
Yeah.
It's like the pressure of, yes, finishing off a special season. And then I guess also, yes, the fact that it could be Arkansas that ruins that, I think was a little bit scary, even though I don't think any of us really thought that that game was in danger.
Yeah. Yeah, Arkansas's offensive line looked pretty terrible. And, I mean, they couldn't hold on to the ball. I think Missouri recovered 4 fumbles by Arkansas. One of them, Jaden Jernigan, returned for a touchdown.
Now, that's a scoop and score.
Yeah. Yeah, he was rumbling. Brady Cook barely had to do anything. He only threw the ball 20 times, but he had 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Another nice little fake to Burden, run it in at the goal line.
Yeah, I still feel like Brady just honestly didn't look super sharp in this game a lot of the times. Like, we were watching this game together and we were kind of talking about how it looked like at times he was just processing a little bit slowly. Like, it seems weird to question, be critical of the quarterback that just led them to a massive victory. But, there was a couple times where early in the game, whenever it wasn't a blowout yet, and a player was like, a wide receiver would be running open, and Brady would kind of see him and wait, and then by the time he's throwing it to him, he's covered.
Yeah.
And it would be like an incomplete pass. And
There was
stuff like
one in
that.
particular on like a third down situation where it looked like he was actually waiting for the receiver to get to the sticks, but that's where the defender was.
Right.
Like he had an opportunity to maybe run for the first down if he had found the receiver earlier.
Yeah. And just some of the deep stuff, just wasn't connecting really. And
And that's been, dare I say, that's been a little bit of a trend.
it's a little bit of a problem.
Later in the season. It felt like early season, we were not hitting on those deep opportunities. Then, like around the Kansas State game, Memphis game, that all changed. It was looking really good for most of SEC play, but then it seems like the last few games, those deep balls haven't been there as much.
Yeah. It seems weird to even criticize this wide receiver room because of how good they've been, but I do think that Missouri lacks a true burner. Still, Luther Burden, one of the best wide receivers in the country, still not your prototypical burner wide receiver, I'd say.
Marquise Johnson.
Marquise Johnson is going to be that.
Yeah.
But is still a freshman and is not seeing a lot of snaps.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's playing a role a little bit, that some of those guys aren't separating super well.
Yeah.
But that's something that just is going to have to be better in a bowl game when we're playing a top 10 opponent.
Yeah.
That stuff's just going to have to be more crisp.
Can't complain about Cody Schrader and this offensive line, though.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Another Cody Schrader, 27 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown.
It's automatic.
And the offensive line has just been incredible the last 5 weeks. Just giving Schrader whatever he wants. And
When the defense knows it's coming.
yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. We've said it every week for the last 5 weeks, but who thought this could happen?
Nobody.
I mean, people predicted 10 wins. People, kind of thought Brady Cook could break out, Luther Burden going to have a big season.
Yeah.
But Cody Schrader just taking over the running game and being the SEC's leading rusher.
Yeah, I mean, he was just nominated for a finalist as the Doak
Walker Running Back Award. Yeah.
like top 3 running back in the country.
Yeah.
And I think he could win. I think he might just win that. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to go back and listen to what we were talking about. Like, I think we probably said, if Missouri wins 9 or 10 games, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
I'm never saying, oh, Cody Schrader is running for 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. I mean, like, optimistically thinking back to preseason, it's like, yeah, Schrader and Pete, 2 running backs that can both get it done.
We probably just said, like, the offensive line is better.
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, no offense, but neither one of those guys did we have high expectations for on an individual level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like it could have been a running back tandem that could have done enough to get Missouri where they need to go.
Yeah.
But I didn't anticipate it being like the rock of the offense.
Yeah.
But I get that's the kind of thing that can happen though when you have a stellar offensive line,
Yeah.
and that's what they've turned into late, especially in run blocking. And Javon Foster, we'll get to this later, but Javon Foster was named USA Today All SEC team. One disappointing thing from the Arkansas game though was Sam Horn, 1 pass attempt incomplete. I kind of wish they would have just let him actually run the playbook.
It's never going to happen.
No. It's not, well, never?
I don't know.
Are you saying it's never going to happen?
It's like, man, I don't know. It's like there was a moment where this game was already a blowout, and I think Brady kind of got dinged up a little bit, kind of got hit hard or something. And I was like, just let Sam, we're almost in the red zone. It's like, just let Sam finish out the drive.
Yeah.
This game is just already out of reach. There's no way in the world this Arkansas team is coming back in this game. But Brady came back in like 1 play later. Obviously, we're happy to see he was, not
clearly
seriously injured or anything. But
yeah. Arkansas's offense was doing nothing. They won the 4th quarter though, 14-7.
Yeah. That's probably what they're saying in the locker room. That's the momentum they're taking into the offseason.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the exact quote from Sam Pittman after the game was that he was asked, where do you go from here? How do you start thinking about rebuilding this roster for next year or whatever? And he just said, I don't know. Just moved on to the next question.
He sounded so dejected.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Next question.
how could you not, honestly? Man, hate to see it for them, though.
Oh, it's crushing.
But they've already announced they're retaining him for next year.
And you know what else they announced?
He's getting a coordinator.
Yeah. Bobby's back.
Welcome home, Bobby Petrino. That's so strange.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, not we. It's not me.
I like it.
What are they doing? I like it, yeah. Like, I mean, the one place that like can't hire Bobby Petrino, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can, but
They just did.
hey, time heals all wounds.
I guess so. Especially those facial scrapes.
I can't even imagine either party being like, Bobby's our guy.
This is
Like,
a
or
good
like
idea.
Bobby himself being like, Arkansas is where I'm going to coach. Like, that's where I want to go back to.
It is a bit bizarre.
He's just exercising those demons, man.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. You have to do
It's
that.
healthy.
Yeah. He couldn't move on without it.
Gotta get some closure.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been able to retire from coaching until he did this.
What are the chances he becomes the head coach at some point?
I saw people saying that, like, well, they've got their next head coach on the.
I think Gabe DeArmond tweeted something like, Bobby Petrino being the offensive coordinator makes it a somewhat realistic chance that he could be bringing the Arkansas Razorbacks to Columbia, Missouri as the Arkansas interim head coach next year.
Oh my gosh.
Like if things go bad enough.
Like, next year.
They fire Pittman mid-season or whatever, and then interim head coach Bobby Petrino.
Wow.
And at that point, he's coaching for the head coaching job against Mizzou.
Wasn't he the offensive coordinator at A&M this past season?
Yes.
That didn't go that well.
No.
I will never forget, we live in Springfield. He was the head coach at Missouri State for 2 seasons. I will never forget us going to that playoff game, and obviously Missouri State Stadium is tiny, so we were on like the 5th row and sitting right behind the Missouri State offensive line, like on the bench. And Bobby just comes over and just says every like curse word imaginable time, and then he says them all like 50 times individually, and to the offensive lineman, and then he kind of like goes back to closer to the field, and he goes back to the offensive lineman and says a bunch of bad words again, and like degrades their existence. And he's just floating around like just cursing everyone in sight.
Yeah.
And you could just hear it as clear as day.
Yeah. Yeah. The 5th row at whatever the stadium
Plaster Stadium.
At Plaster Stadium, Plaster Sports Complex at Missouri State. The 5th row there is you can hear everything.
You're on the field almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
hilarious moment,
magnificent experience.
but it turned me off to him as a head coach. I want a player's coach.
Yeah, yeah, he was not real friendly that day, and they lost, so he was just not. He was mad.
Yeah, the offensive line was just a scapegoat that day.
They looked completely used to it. Like they weren't even like they were just like talking to each other like it was a normal day.
Yeah, I don't care for that if I'm being honest.
Well,
but we've established before I would not have cut it as a Division I athlete.
You would have made it
mentally because of that.
That's the kind of people that Arkansas. They're about that.
I guess so. Yeah. All right, moving on. Missouri won this game, and now I'll give you a little bit of a stat update on some of the record books. I love doing that. Cody Schrader is sitting at 3rd all-time single-season rushing yards in Mizzou history, 1489. He is 90 yards away from 2nd, 116 yards away from 1st. Now, Matthew in Discord brought up the fact that Tyler Beatty did not play in the bowl game after his 1,600-yard season, which is just a little extra level of like mind-blowing to that performance of that season.
It is. It's also kind of funny that he sat out the bowl game. Like, was he
odd?
He was like a 6th-round draft pick or something.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
We love Tyler Beatty.
We love you. We love you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I said it.
So Schrader, legit chance in the bowl game to take that number 1 spot.
It's like he only needs 115 yards. It's like a great game.
Yeah.
Like over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, he'll get that easy.
Brady Cook with 3,189 yards, 8th all-time in single-season passing yards. His 20 touchdowns are 9th all-time single season. He needs 211 yards to get 7th place, 310 yards for 6th place. So very respectable season. That's could put you in the top 10 for a long time. And then Luther Burden, 1,197 yards is 4th all-time. He needs 14 yards to get 3rd place, 63 yards to get 2nd, and 584 yards to get 1st place.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah. But 2nd place by himself would be
that'd be awesome.
Incredible season for the true sophomore. He's 7th all-time with 83 receptions on the season. He needs 9 to jump all the way to 3rd. If he only gets 7, he'd be tied for 4th with Chase Kaufman and Michael Egnew. It's pretty incredible season. Yep. Those 3 guys have been tearing it up. They all 3 made that USA Today All-SEC team along with Javon Foster for the offense. And Darius Robinson and Chris Abrams-Drain made it for defense. No snubs there, really. And that all seems... I think it was second most players on the All-SEC team, second only to Alabama, I think I saw.
Yeah, it feels like there's some years where we don't have anybody on those lists.
For real, yeah. And you mentioned earlier Cody Schrader, one of 3 finalists for the Doak Walker Running Back Award. Oklahoma State's Ollie Gordon and North Carolina's Amarion Hampton are the other 2 finalists. I have their stats here for you. Gordon of Oklahoma State has 1,580 yards and 20 touchdowns on the season. Cody Schrader only with 13. And then Hampton, 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns. So stat-wise, they do have the edge.
Missouri's the better team.
Missouri's the better team and going up against better competition in the SEC, potentially.
Just means more.
I feel like probably Cody Schrader doesn't win this award, but I don't know. I'd like to see...
He's going to win the Burlsworth.
Absolutely. I want to go through... I'll have to do this sometime. We'll go through and see the SEC leading rusher, just like each year. What awards did they win? Figure out how bad Schrader got snubbed. A real snub, though, is Chris Abrams-Drain not being a Jim Thorpe Award finalist. Somebody I saw, he has as many pass breakups and interceptions as 2 of the other guys combined.
Yeah.
Best cornerback award.
I definitely feel like cornerback is one of those positions where it's probably the least stats-oriented position on the field, but definitely I still think Chris Abrams-Drain was snubbed for that.
Yeah. And now, as far as the team goes, they still sit at 9th in the college football playoff rankings. Looking at a New Year's Six Bowl opportunity. Do you have a preference on what bowl they get into? And do you have a prediction?
Not really. I feel like my prediction is probably Penn State in... What would that bowl be if they played Penn State?
Probably the Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl, yeah. And then the other one that I feel like we've seen is Cotton Bowl versus Texas. I think I'd be fine with either one of those.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Except
we got to play Tech. If we played Texas in that situation, both times we're playing Texas in a bowl game, it's in their state.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've said it before that I get kind of tired of playing old Big 12 teams, and especially we've already played Texas in a bowl game.
They're an SEC team now.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just like stuff that's a little bit more out of the box.
Yeah.
I've never seen Missouri play Penn State. I've never seen Missouri play Washington.
Penn State, probably top 5 defense in the country.
Yeah.
That 115 or 116 that Cody Schrader needs is a little tougher now.
Yeah.
Including also winning the game.
Yeah,
a little tougher.
That's true. As far as matchup that I would like to see that I think would be fun and maybe give Missouri the best chance to win, if Washington loses to Oregon, I kind of like maybe matching up against Washington a little bit.
That'd be a fun one.
But
is it possible to play Ohio State? Probably not.
I honestly don't know.
I've seen a couple of outlets predict that, but I don't know if that's possible.
CBS Sports' Jerry Palm.
He loves brackets.
You just put a bracket in front of him, he will predict what's going to happen. He says Missouri versus Penn State in the Peach Bowl.
That seems like the most likely, but we'll see.
We'll
Ole Miss, do they have an argument for the New Year's Six?
They do, but it's completely unfounded, and nobody that knows anything agrees with them.
Okay. That's straightforward enough for me. Thank you very much.
That's just my opinion, though.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like if maybe I already said this, but if I'm the people presiding over the Cotton Bowl, I feel like I want Texas versus Missouri. I feel like
they want it.
That would be the most intriguing matchup if I'm trying to pick that on their behalf.
But you might just get it.
How
about Tulane? You want to play them?
Not really.
Me either.
Feels like a kind of could only be bad situation.
Yeah.
If you win, it's like, oh, well, you only had to play Tulane. If
Yep.
you lose, you lost to Tulane.
Yep. Don't want it.
Yeah. Lose.
No, thank you.
Yeah. similar situation with Louisville, but I feel like the way things have turned out, that
Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
They lost to Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, maybe match us up with them. But the transitive property says we destroy Louisville.
Coach Shankwitz has not won a bowl game. Is that true? True or false?
Not at Missouri?
At Missouri.
Yeah. True?
I think it's true.
Who will they lose to?
They lost to Wake Forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
They lost to Army.
Oh.
And that was the game Tyler Beatty sat out.
Mm.
And am I imagining this, or did Brady Cook play that game?
Yeah, Brady Cook did play that game.
Was there one in between that?
Last year they lost to Wake Forest. Year before that they lost to Army. 2020 bowl game got canceled.
No bowl games.
Was supposed to be against Iowa.
Oh, yeah, but we were afraid.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Everybody on the team got COVID.
That is true. So, yeah, let's win a bowl game for a change. A big one.
I agree.
So now that the it's not quite the off season, but like this little time between the end of the regular season and bowl season is just, it's coaching carousel time. It is what I now call, with that being said, season, because there's posts all over everywhere. With that being said, I'm going pro, entering the transfer portal,
Decommitting.
Transferring.
Did you already say that?
Yeah.
You did.
Portaling.
What did we say before the transfer portal? Intentions to transfer?
Yeah.
And
When did the phrase transfer portal?
I don't know, but now it's like it's all the only word I can think of.
Yeah, that's been turned into a verb. So and so is going portaling.
Who did this? Who started this?
I don't know. Maybe they were influenced by Rick and Morty.
Maybe
Portal.
Minecraft
Portal. Good.
Good
reference.
Thanks.
Where are we here? Okay, so Tigers in the portal. Missouri Tigers that have announced their intentions to transfer. We have Damian Wilson, Max Wisner, and EJ Ndoma-Ogar.
And also Valen Erickson, but I think like that was announced a couple of weeks ago
Yeah.
and hasn't been on the roster for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's gonna be a lot more, I would guess.
Yeah. Not
There
done
always
yet.
is.
So far, like Wisner, tight end, you see Norfleet out there doing what he's doing. The whole tight end room is probably thinking, what's my spot moving forward?
Yep.
Ndoma-Ogar maybe felt like this was his year to break into the rotation at offensive line a little bit more.
Yeah.
The opportunity was there.
Seemed like it. He did play maybe a little bit, but only because of injury, I think, and maybe had a chance next year, but was maybe kind of in the same boat as this year. Also made a little bit of a reference to something about him not being a work in progress on his like goodbye message to Mizzou. So I don't know if someone, maybe Coach Drinkwitz, publicly called him a work in progress.
He did
at some point.
He did at one point, yeah.
So that may have factored into his decision.
And then Wilson, that's maybe the scariest one because we're already pretty thin on linebacker. It's a little bit scary just for the bowl game.
Yeah,
we gotta
it really
hope Hicks and Hopper are healthy.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to think of this one. I kind of had high hopes for Wilson next year to kind of step into a primary role, assuming Chad Bailey and Hopper are both going to be gone next year. I don't even know about Chuck Hicks and his eligibility. I would assume he has one more season, but there's not a lot of guys in that room right now, so I'm not sure what's going to go on there.
That seems like a position will be hitting the transfer portal pretty hard. There was I saw Kansas State's Will Howard into the portal.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. Obviously, we have less insider information than the folks at Power Mizzou, obviously. But Gabe tweeted that some people were tagging, or in the tweet announcing Will Howard's transfer, they mentioned Missouri as like a possible destination. And Gabe just immediately put an end to that and was like, Missouri is not targeting a quarterback in the transfer portal, least of all one that only has 1 year of eligibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is interesting, and I'm not totally ruling it out, honestly, but probably not Will Howard, though, because I think he wants to start somewhere. But I do think it's still interesting to watch Missouri's movement with quarterbacks, because I would assume that not all three of the main Missouri quarterbacks are still going to be on the roster next year. You would think Jake Garcia or Sam Horn will probably transfer to get playing time somewhere else. So they could still be looking for a quarterback, but obviously not one to come in and be an instant starter like they kind of were last year.
Yeah, that's
It feels like forever ago.
Yes.
But they were legitimately looking for potential starters last year.
yeah. And we were speculating at the time that the reason, or one of the factors for these quarterbacks not choosing Missouri, was the fact that they were not being guaranteed the starting job.
Yes.
And for good reason.
Yep.
We had Brady Cook there ready to compete for it.
Yeah, I think that was a correct read.
There was just these Kansas State transfers are coming to mind, but one was a cornerback from the Kansas City area, I think, who had a pretty solid season in a secondary that was not very good for Kansas State. That maybe looking to go elsewhere, and we're losing some guys in the defensive backfield. But yeah, I like transfer portal season, and it makes this gap between now and the bowl games much more bearable when you kind of have this fun of like, what's the roster going to look like? You get a little sneak peek of the movement.
It is weird to think that like there's a legitimate month in between the last game and the bowl game. Like that's a long time.
Yeah,
But hey, coaches love the practices, right?
that is true. Yeah. And like some coaching carousel moves out of the SEC already. Mississippi State fired head coach Zach Arnett and hired former Oklahoma offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby.
They said we're ready to score points
I guess so.
because we didn't do it at all this year.
Yeah. So going offensive minded there. And then we mentioned Bobby Petrino coming home. And the big one is Texas A&M firing Jimbo Fisher and bringing in Mike Elko, Duke head coach, also previously Texas A&M defensive coordinator under Jimbo.
Yeah. I somehow have never heard of this man in my life. I'm maybe afraid to admit that.
It's okay.
But I guess I say that because I just thought Texas A&M was going to make more of like a splash hire. I'm using air quotes, splash hire. So,
Well, it was a bit of
are they growing up a little bit, or
a little bit of a roller coaster there because they were trying to get Mark Stoops
Was
away
that-
from Kentucky.
was that a legitimate thing? I mean, there were like Texas A&M outlets like reporting that it was pretty much a done deal.
Yeah. Could have been a thing where Stoops is just maybe using it for leverage with Kentucky, or
I didn't believe it at the time, but then seeing who they actually hired, I think it's very possible it was happening.
feels like the same type of hire.
Yeah.
That Texas A&M fans were losing their mind that the prospect of Mark Stoops being the head coach.
Yeah.
A little bit bizarre, in my opinion. So you ended up with Mike Elko, who's only been a head coach for 2 seasons. I don't know. But the sad thing is, we won't be able to talk about Jimbo Fisher as much.
I know. I'm going to miss him.
Just saying the name is fun.
Just saying his name is Jimbo.
Jimbo. Just get it out now. Jimbo.
Jimbo. Bo. Not Jim, not James. Jimbo.
Yeah.
Specifically.
We barely knew you.
You sent actually us that video of the press conference of them like welcoming Elmo. What's his name? Elko.
Mike Elko.
And
It's a goofy name. Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not Jimbo, but
No.
it's still an O name.
Yeah.
And they were all doing this weird little dance and stuff.
They're doing that thing they do.
I don't think I like that.
I don't think anybody does outside of that weird little town in Texas. I think everybody else finds it off-putting,
They're making that much money on agriculture.
I guess. Yeah.
Got to eat.
Land is worth a lot of money. I don't know
I
if you know
guess.
that. All right. There any more? You think the coaching carousel is done in the SEC?
Well, there was like the kind of that rumor that Vanderbilt might fire Clark Lee. Probably not going to happen. You think Jimbo is going to end up at Vanderbilt?
That was a tweet that I saw that I actually thought was real for like half a second, but had to have been a joke.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
If he takes another job somewhere else, he doesn't get his payout as much
True.
or something.
Yeah, I don't think Jimbo's coaching for a little while.
I would not ever again.
No.
We've been over that
He's
before.
Sipping lemonade on the
That
back
is
porch.
that is our dream. Somebody hire us to coach, and we'll do a bad job, fire us, and pay us millions of dollars.
I can handle it.
Oof.
KJ Jefferson
Yes.
transferring.
Yes.
And do you know who the favorite is to land him so far? People are saying.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Don't love that. I would just be totally fine with him not being in the SEC.
Yeah. And then what's his face is going pro?
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina.
Oh yeah, Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler.
Good
Rattle
luck to
Rattler
him.
is. I saw somebody on Twitter said start learning. Start learning Canadian, which is obviously not a different language.
Yeah.
But probably going to be playing in the Canadian League. He'll be great there.
Okay, go with me here. Spencer Rattler, of all the quarterbacks that have ever played college football, he's the guy that most should have gone to like the NFL G League or something.
Yeah.
Just learn how to be a professional quarterback.
If it
when you're
existed.
19 years old, 18 years old.
His stock just went down every year.
Yes.
And it's still good enough to go to the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have. Yeah.
I can remember like 3 years ago, he was like the hot name for like next year's draft.
Yeah, he was like Heisman favorite at Oklahoma. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then he played for Shane Beamer.
KJ Jefferson being subjected to that. Like, can we get this guy an actual head coach?
It's his choice.
I guess. He's originally from Mississippi. I figured he'd go back home. Join up with Jeff Lebby, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Anything else before we pick the one and only SEC game this week?
No.
Let's do it. Let's bring producer Cam back into the episode. Hey, welcome in.
Hello.
We had to pull some strings to get a guest picker this week.
Oh, yeah.
We had to reach out privately to the legend himself.
Welcome in,
Daddy
guest
JD.
picker, Daddy JD.
Wow, it's been a while.
For one game.
We didn't want to put the pressure too much on him.
Before we get into that, last week, Kyle and I had perfect scores.
How are you going to catch up when we're perfect?
Yeah. Ugh.
It's just a fool's errand.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing here.
So Kyle and I both had 10 points. The guest pickers and Cameron had 8 points.
What did I miss?
You missed Florida versus Florida State and Clemson, South Carolina.
I picked South Carolina to beat Clemson.
Yeah, it was close.
Okay. I didn't watch a second of that game. I watched some of these others, but
I thought Florida was going to do it.
yeah, I should have.
I
those
honestly wanted
points.
to pick them and pick them, but
That's a ridiculous outcome there.
And then guest pickers had Nebraska.
Should have been a win.
Well, yeah. But it wasn't, and the three of us got upset points.
Wow.
So
That's
that brings our season totals
On to
to
Vegas.
Cameron has 73. The guest pickers have 77. I have 80. Kyle has 81.
wow. Coming down to it. Two of you.
I've been in the lead for a few weeks now, which means I'm probably just going to let it just melt away
Yeah.
Might as well.
anytime now.
Yeah.
So rest of the season, we're only picking SEC games, however many there are, probably 10 or 12 or so. There's 9 bowl eligible SEC teams.
Beautiful.
This
Nebraska not bowl eligible?
No.
Oh.
Thank goodness.
I'm glad you asked.
There was one team that snuck in at 5-7.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who was it?
The right teams lost to make it happen, and they had the best academic progress rate.
Ooh.
I cannot believe that is like the way. I guess it is the NCAA.
They didn't
I
have
love
enough.
that. You know,
They didn't have
stupid.
enough 6-16s to,
Yeah.
or 6 and whatever.
You love
teams.
it?
Yeah, they're student athletes. Student comes first.
I think it's a great way to settle the tiebreaker.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
5-7. Going to a bowl.
Wow.
Wait, this year?
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Oh, I see.
It's done.
Wow. Congrats to them.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. All right, what are we picking this week?
We have number 1 Georgia at not at neutral site, but it's in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Classic.
Georgia versus Alabama. Number 8 Alabama. Georgia is a 5.5-point favorite.
I'll let you go first. Wait, how should you're leading right now?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I will welcome the opportunity
Okay.
to do what leaders do.
But we're gonna need a little bit of an analysis on this game. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm gonna pick Georgia.
Okay.
I think they're just the more well-rounded team here. I still think Alabama just a little weak at quarterback.
Okay.
And Milrow's good. He's gotten a lot better as the season's gone on, but I don't think he's good enough to beat Georgia. I cannot believe they beat Auburn last week. That was like a miracle.
Yeah.
Like 4th and 30 or something.
Yeah.
Just a prayer that was answered.
Yeah,
So
that was nuts.
would they have been there anyway, even if they lost that game? They'd still be in the SEC championship game.
I think so.
Give me Georgia.
Producer Cameron.
I'll take Georgia.
Me and JD.
You have to.
We're going Alabama. I don't even think as a Mizzou fan we necessarily want that to happen. It doesn't matter at this point.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Alabama's probably staying ahead of us no matter what. What are they? They're 8th?
What if they get
Yeah,
thumped?
Missouri could jump them if they get blown out.
Yeah.
I think Missouri could jump them.
That's what I'll go with. That's what I'm rooting for.
So you're
but
hedging.
I'm hedging by picking them.
You're always doing that. That's why you're losing.
I got SEC pick 'em bunker mentality. Is that it?
That was fast.
That's it.
We got 2 and 2.
I did want to say I was just running through some alternate timelines where Missouri beats LSU earlier in the season. Just trying to figure out what maybe the committee would do with a one-loss Mizzou team who played Georgia really close. And I feel like the best case scenario, Missouri would be maybe ahead of Texas and Alabama. Maybe they'd be 7th right now.
Yeah. They're still not going to the SEC championship game, even if they beat LSU. Probably not making the playoff regardless. Still doesn't really make me feel a whole lot better, but
yeah,
it's kind of like the South Carolina game in 2013 where it's like, that was awful that we lost that and very heartbreaking in a time.
Yeah.
But
didn't change the outcome of the season too much. Now, if Missouri had found a way to beat Georgia,
obviously that's very different.
Be in the SEC championship and you beat Alabama and you're in the 4-team playoff.
Easy. They're probably like number 1 in the country at that point.
Michigan would have something to say about that, but
pretty close. Okay, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Michigan's gonna get thumped by Iowa.
That would be incredible. I know that there's like some favorites that we want to win as Mizzou fans for rankings and whatnot, but I think I just want all the upsets in the conference championship games.
Got too many good teams.
Do what?
Got too many good teams.
Yeah. A lot of one-loss teams that are right there. Ole Miss 11th though. Not quite up
good
there.
enough.
Yeah. That top 10 is just, they're on a different level.
It's only for the pristine elite programs.
True. All right. Are we done here? Well, we'll end it. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, and Joshua Jacobson. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com. Send us a mailbag question.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
I just realized there's no way I could get rid of Dennis. I'm wearing the Dennis shirt.
Too late. You already did it.
Did I?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
You got rid of drink.
See you next week.